Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Kedar and I hope you liked my previous video on the masterclass on ControlNet. In today's video, we'll be looking at this particular model called Kontext model, which was released a couple of weeks back. Actually, in my previous video, we looked at it in the comparison with ControlNet and its capabilities. But in today's video, we'll be diving deep in understanding how this model is trained, who are the people who are training this particular model, then what are its limitations, what are its do's and don'ts, what are its use cases, how to use it free and how to use it in ComfyUI. So that's mostly what today's video is going to be all about. So like I said, the model was released on May 29th, 2025, which has been a couple of weeks, and was released by BFL or Black Forest Labs. So before understanding or before getting to know about the model, I was interested to know about Black Forest Labs because the name is quite intriguing. So BFL or Black Forest Labs was basically started in last year, August in 2024. It's not even been a year and they have released so many models related to Flux. So all of these models that has been Flux tools that are like Flux ControlNet, Flux Developer, Flux Nel, Flux Kontext, all of them have been released by Black Forest Lab. And this was a startup from Germany. And right now, the people who developed Black Forest Labs were also some of the creators of Stable Diffusion. And that's why they were able to create such a robust Flux model. I'm no way endorsing them or being like saying that, okay, these are the best people. But when you have something like this Flux model that you do, I feel like you need to appreciate from where it is coming and who are the people who are making it. And their first series funding round was for $31 million. That means there is really something going for them. And I think we need to watch what they make more often. So I was going through their entire website. And what was interesting to me, coming up next, they plan to start a state-of-the-art text-to-video model for all, which to me is really interesting, and I'm looking forward for this model. And if even 15% of the capabilities of the Kontext model goes in this video model, it will totally change the world of Gen AI like Kontext has changed in the past 2 weeks. But let's look at the Kontext model in detail. So apart from releasing the model, Black Forest Labs also released this particular technical report which tells you what this model is totally about. So the title of this paper is FLUX.1 Kontext, Flow Matching for In-Context Image Generation and Editing in Latent Space. And they also have given this nice example just to show what this model is capable of. So here they have this image of this bird, which is, let's say, wearing this kind of huge headset. And then they say the bird is now sitting in a bar enjoying the beer, and you see the consistency in the image generation is amazing. Then they say there are now 2 of these birds. And hardly you just have to prompt instructions for this particular model and it will generate images for you. Then they say the 2 bird characters are now sitting in the movie theater, and you see their expression also change. Not just the context or not just the background is changing. Even their expression, the way their hand is moving is changing, which really to me is something great about this model. And we will see later on in the use cases, this is reflected when you use it as well. Then let's look at what this model is offering. Firstly, they say that it has unified capability. It can also create images just from prompting, and also by editing, that could be image to image or just giving it a style, it will adapt to that particular model. Then character consistency, which you already looked at from that bird example. Then interactive speed, and this to me is what is the selling point of this model, because it takes hardly 3 to 5 seconds, and that is wild. That is absolutely crazy, and you have to try it to feel how quick it is in responses. Then they say iterative application, and this is true again what we saw in that example. So you give a particular image, ask it to make 1 edit, 2nd edit, 3rd edit. What they do say in this particular paper is that don't give it a lot of things. For example, let's say in the bird example, they could not write in the same prompt, make a copy of the bird, give a view from the rear, make it in a cinema theater. It would not do a great job. So you need to give it in an iterative manner. Okay, this is step number 1. You get your output. Step number 2, step number 3, and so on and so forth. I also wanted to see what is the difference between how these models are trained versus how the diffusion models are trained. If you don't know from how diffusion models are trained, you can see my video on natural language prompting. I will link it somewhere here. But anyway, the key difference is that in this particular training process, they put 3 things for training, which is your main image, your prompt, and your target image. Whereas in diffusion model, you only input two things, which is your image and your prompt. So whatever is in this double inverted commas is the extract from the paper. Rest is my interpretation of the paper. So they say millions of relationship pair, which is x/y and c, where x and y is the main image and the target image, and c is your prompt. So all these three go in the training process. Now what happens to the prompt? Similar to the diffusion process, it gets tokenized, basically splitting it into its separate word. For example, here mango, ice cream, chocolate gets split up into separate words, and they get a unique vector to it, basically one unified vector. And what happens to the images? They get compressed into the latent space, because again, for training, adding these high resolution images makes no sense. So they compress it and put it into the latent space. We can imagine that chunks of the ice cream have been taken to understand the flavor profile of what that ice cream is about. Once we have the vector of the prompt and these images are compressed, they all are laid together, then the training process starts happening. So the noise is now only added to the target image, which in this case, for example, it's a chocolate ice cream, and you use the mango ice cream and the prompt as your guidance for it to remove the noise. And that's how the training process is done, which they call it as rectified flow matching, right? Because it's matching from the original image and the target image. And because of this matching, it is able to generate super quick images in 3 to 5 seconds. But it is not only limited to matching. You can also just use prompt and get images as well. So in the paper, they say sampling pure text image pairs, preserving the text to image generation ability. So they are not removing the ability to convert a text to an image. They're keeping that. Apart from that, they are training for these 3 triplet pairs as well. So that's how the training of this context model has been done. Now let's see what happens during the image generation process. During the image generation process, you can either add only a prompt or a prompt and an image. What happens in the next step? The prompt gets tokenized, again split up into separate words, converts it into one unique vector, and the image gets converted into chunks or compressed in the latent space. Again, let's take the same ice cream example. So I want to convert this chocolate ice cream into a strawberry ice cream. So first my prompt gets split up and tokenized, and then this chocolate ice cream get compressed into basically, let's say, flavor profile and put in the latent space. If you don't know what latent space is, it is, let's say, imagine a world where all images exist and they are clustered together. For example, trees are somewhere here, buildings are somewhere here, humans are somewhere here. Of course, there is no barrier between them, but it is just the clustering of the images. And when you put a new prompt or a new vector, a new dot is generated there, and it takes influence of these neighboring images and learns to create a particular image. This is the most simplest version of what latent space is, but that's what is happening in that particular latent space. So now when the prompt and the image go in the latent space, we start generating a new image. So this new image totally starts from a blank canvas, which basically, let's say, is noise of sprinkles, and slowly through the process of rectified flow matching, the model starts removing noise slowly, and you end up getting the final image. It is very similar to the diffusion process. Only thing is, here they input 3 things, which is a main image, target image, and prompt. In diffusion models, you only input your text and the image. Now in the same paper, they have also compared this model with other models. Now this is for how much time it takes. So the first graph shows text to image, and here you see the Kontext Pro takes hardly 3 seconds. The Kontext Max takes around 5 seconds, which is so quick in comparison to any of the other models. And in the other example, they say image to image generation. There also both of these models are super quick, between 4 to 5 seconds. And I think we really need to understand how crazy it is to get an image in 4 to 5 seconds. Me saying this sentence might take me more than 5 seconds, but this image is already done. They also compared this model for different categories. In this particular case, they're looking for text to image category. And now here you will see these dark blue bars are the context models, the Pro and the Max. And really in none of these cases they come at top. They are not the best yet, but this is the first iteration of this model. Now where this model actually shines is image to image generation. Again, comparing to all of the other model for various criteria, this model really shines. And I have tested for text editing. For example, let's say you have a text that is already done. You want to say remove one word. Let's say you want to remove Kedar and put context. Interesting, both have KK in it. It does it, and it also matches the font, which is super clean. And then of course local editing, where you want to only say that okay, remove a specific part of that particular image. Style reference, not 100% there yet. Character reference is class. And aura face similarity, it is wild. I have added my face and it has done really good. I have done this experiment with lot of models, and either they warp my face, either they remove my glasses, or either they make my skin tone different. But this particular model has done a great job. And like I said, they have released two models, the Kontext Max model and the Kontext Pro model. I'm really looking forward to the developer or the Kontext Dev model, which will allow you to use not just freely but also tweak a lot of parameters. And as of today that I'm recording this video, which is around 13th of June, it just says coming up. And it is released of course for ComfyUI and other apps as well. I have tested both the models. And where the Pro model shines is first for timing. It is super quick. So if you want quick iterations, I would really recommend the Pro model. It is cheaper, and also it is good with characters from what I have used. The way the Kontext model shines is in typography. It does the text really well, especially text matching. Apart from that, I have noticed that when you ask it to create of the same image, the Pro model and the Max model adds more detail to that particular image. Is it worth double the price? I'm not sure. And as of now, they have released the model in lot of apps that could be Kriya, FreePic, Lightricks, OpenArt, Leonardo, Comfy, etc. We will be looking at Comfy majorly because that's the tool that I use. And like I was saying, the Pro model costs per image $0.04, and the Max model costs the double, which is $0.08 per image. In Indian rupees, this is around 3.5, and this is around 7 rupees per image, which is super cheap. I hope they release the developer version soon, but right now also this is not very expensive. But there is also a free version available to test the Kontext model. If you really want to use it, or if you like the model or not, I think this is a great way to test it. So apart from releasing the model, the Black Forest Labs also released something called as a BFL playground. So what you can do is you can go to your Internet Explorer or whatever internet you use, and you can type something like playground.bfl.ai image generate, and you will come to this particular window which says welcome to Flux Playground. The Flux Playground lets you experiment with the latest Flux capabilities in your browser. Okay, and it says no credit card needed. You get 200 free credits to start. So it will give you 200 free credits, which is really good to test whether you really like this model or not. Okay, you have to tick whether you are above 18. I don't know if you're not above 18, what are you going to do? And then you need to log in. You can use either Google account or any other account that you have. And once you log in, you will be greeted with this particular page, which is super simple to navigate. Here you see you have these three dots, which allow you to choose the model that you want. So if you click on these three dots, you will get either you want to use the Pro model, Max model, or any of the other Flux model that you want to choose. Then you can go to your account. You can click on My Account, and here it will show you how many credits you have. Now I started with 200. I used some. So here you see I have 184 credits. Then when you want to generate an image, simple, click on Generate Image. Then here what you can do, if you want to add an image, you see here there is this image icon. You can click on this. You can add that particular image. You can add that particular prompt. For example, here I have a sketch. Generally, I don't stress so much on prompt, but in this case, because the prompt is actually not a prompt, it is more of an instruction. So here the prompt matters a lot. So be very careful the way you prompt it. Think of it like you're talking to this particular model of what instructions or what things it has to follow. Then you can click on this particular model, and here you can change some of the settings. Okay, so you have to understand that the more images you create, the more credits you will lose. I would recommend keep the batch size to 1. Change your aspect ratio to whatever it is. Maybe it's a landscape image, portrait image, change whatever it is, because when you create an image, it somehow goes back to its original resolution and goes to back size of 4. So it is going to take 4 times your credits, and then you get this amazing looking image. How cool. 5 seconds, done, job done. Okay. And let me look at my credits again. So if I go to my account, you will see now I have 180 credits. So what it means, for the Pro model, it takes 4 credits per image. For Max model, it takes 8 credits per image. That means with this 200 credits, you can create 50 images of Pro model and 25 images of Max model. So be careful how you will use it. And this is the side-by-side comparison of the Pro model and the Max model. Like I said, the Max model somehow adds more detailing to the particular output. Like for example, in this case, the way the cotton steel is shining is so nice in comparison to the Pro model. I would recommend you to test both of them, but it's really up to you. So this is the free version. You go to the playground.bfl, go on generate, add an image, and your image is done. It's as simple as that. Now let's look at what do we need to install for ComfyUI, which is what we will be looking in this particular video. So firstly, because it is not, a model is not released, we need to use it through an API. So when you open your ComfyUI, you need to log in. So you see this now, I have my, not mine, but a photo which I use for this particular Google account has been seen here. And if I click on it, it will say my name and how many credits I have. So I have added around $3. But you need to log in here, and logging in is very simple. I'll show you how to do that as well. So all you need to do is you need to click on settings here at the bottom left hand corner. When you click on settings, you will get this particular window. Go to users. Once you go to users, it will ask you whether you want to sign in or sign up. Click on this, and then you will be greeted by this window, and you can use whatever you want to sign in. Once you sign in, you will see your name. I have redacted my email because I don't want people spamming me. So I've redacted my email, and that's it. And then you will see your image again. So the first part is done. You have logged in yourself in ComfyUI, because if you don't log in, you will not be able to use the API tools. Once you log in, then go to workflow. When you click on workflow, then you say browse templates. Once you click on browse template, you will see all of the workflow that's available. Go on image API. Then you will see these two, which is called Black Forest Labs FLUX.1 Kontext Pro model and the FLUX Max Kontext model. And that's it. It's super simple. Again, like I said, the Pro is $0.04 or 3.5 INR and Max is $0.08 or 7 INR. So be careful which model you use. And when you click on either of the images, you will get the workflow. And this is what the workflow looks. It is only 3 things, okay, where either you can directly prompt, you can add an image and prompt and change some settings, and that is it with the workflow. It is so simple. I don't know why we are even learning creating ComfyUI workflows anymore, but when they release developer version, you will know why the power of ComfyUI is. But when you click to run this particular workflow, it will ask you that you need to add some images. So we need to top up. You can click on your icon again, then click on top up. Then you will be greeted with this window which says how many dollars you want to add. You can choose how much ever you want. Then let's say in this case, I use $10. Then I will get this particular window where here it's showing me it's around 890 rupees or $10. I say 890 rupees is fine. Then you will be going to Comfy page where it says payment successful, and then done. My money is gone. Working with Gen AI, either you got to lose money or you got to lose time. I think it's for everything, but I don't know. Everyone wants so much money with Gen AI. Of course, I mean, everybody is, there's a lot of funding also happening. So many new apps are coming up. It's wild. It's wild. I don't know. If you don't invest money, how you're going to learn AI? I have no idea, but then it is what it is. In the beginning also, when only Mid-Journey was available, we used to pay a lot of money. Then ComfyUI came. Things made much free, but then either you got to buy a high-end computer or use Run Comfy. I don't see really how you can use Gen AI free these days. I don't have any, I don't know anything that's free for Gen AI these days. Some other day we'll cover this topic. Is there any actually free tools that's available? Okay. So when you say payment successful, if you go back to Comfy and now you see I have $13 in my credit. One thing you might not see, which it's not seen in my computer as well. So I was seeing this video on comfy.org and they have this API which is called as context multiple image input. If you don't see this, don't worry, I have come around a way to do it, of course, because I was like, I need to do this. How is not available on my Comfy app? So basically it is rolling slowly for the Comfy desktop versions, but of course I had to come up with a different way. So if you want to do this, so basically what this allows you to do, it allows you to add multiple images. So basically that's what it looks like. So this is the example again from the documents of comfy.org. So here they tell you, okay, you can add multiple images. For example, let's say I want, and so nice and cute this dolls are. So they want to add this doll with this dog on this sofa, and you see it combines this image and gives you this particular output. So that is why this is useful, the multiple image, which is what it says, context multiple image input. So basically we need something called as an image stitch model, and this we need to update Comfy. If you don't see this, don't worry. There is a custom node that we will download. So go to your Comfy apps, go to manager, go to custom nodes manager, and here you need to download this particular tool or node which is called as ComfyUI RMBG, which will in essence give us the same node which is called as image stitch. With the update that you do, you will get this node locally with Comfy core. Right now it's not rolled, or I didn't get this update, maybe you have gotten it. But if you don't get that update, you can download this ComfyUI RMBG, which will give you this particular node which is image stitch RMBG, and it does the same thing like I showed in the image. You can combine multiple images for anything that you want, and the way this works is that you can say where you want the next image to be, whether you want it to be on the right side, top, left, bottom. I have noticed that whichever image you want to edit, keep it on the right side. Whichever image you want it to take influence of, keep it on the left side. Now that could be left, top and bottom, but the right one is where the changes happen. I tried multiple iterations. I kept it top, bottom, left. It didn't work. Only when you keep it on the right, that image comes as an output. So basically, let's say I want to change this image. I want to add this flower pot on the table, and I want to change these hanging lights to this kind of a nice chandelier. So this image has to be on the right. So the way I compose it is I say these two, let them be on top. So I get this top, and then this image I say right. So now these two images are top and bottom, and this image is right. So this is very important. Always remember to have this image on the right. I don't know, maybe it's a bug, but I have tested for multiple things. As long as the image goes on the right, it does a good job. And then I connected to the Pro model, and then I said, the fluidic white flower pot is sitting on the dining table with flowers, and the hanging lights above the dining table are replaced by two transparent chandelier. And so you will see this image has been transformed into this image. And I have absolutely no words. Okay, let me show you the bigger version. So this was the original image. I wanted to add the flower pot here and change these lights. And you see, it did it. It did it. Have you done this before? I have done this before manually, and it's a huge long ComfyUI script where basically you are masking parts of it. You need to convert this particular chandelier into an image which has no background or either a PNG. And even sometimes when there is transparency added, it doesn't really do a good job. But this takes hardly 5 minutes, man. Like it's not even 5 minutes. The making the script takes around 2 minutes, let's say, and this takes 5-10 seconds, and it is completely wild. And here you can't mask things yet. I would have liked it if you could mask it, like make the chandelier more bigger, make the flower pot smaller. But again, this is just released 2 weeks back. Let's give it a couple of months, and once the developer version is released, we might really go wild with this particular model, because then you can mask things. You can say that, okay, take this particular image, put it here, which has real life influences as well. You can just go to a shop, okay, take a picture, see how it will look in your interior space, or see how it will look in your product design shots and things like that, which will make our lives way easier. And also add generative AI into reality, and not just like this speculative creating image ideas concept, but like have an integration to our reality in essence. So now let's look at the tutorial of how to do this in ComfyUI, which is very simple. It's just 3 things. Okay, the first thing I will do is I will go to workflow, I will go to browse templates, and then I go to image API, and here I see the Kontext Pro and the Max model. Let me take the probe, and here there is also a documentation which nicely tells you how to do things. So one of the things always to remember is whenever you take any image, always describe the image and tell what has to be retained and what has to be changed. It's as simple as that. And if you read this, you will really understand how to prompt with context model. For example, here it says, transform the person into a Viking. This is not how to prompt it. It says, change the clothes to be a Viking warrior while preserving facial features. So that's when you can preserve the human expressions or the face and only change the clothes. And you can go through this. It tells you in essence what has to be done. And there are certain kind of templates that they have done. For example, change object to something new, keep the design unchanged. So that's what they say in this. So let's see how this works. It's in essence, like I said, only 3 components in this particular node. The first one is load your image. The second one is add your prompt. Here you can change the aspect ratio, the guidance, the steps, the seed, and randomize. I tried changing the guidance and the steps. It doesn't really work. So basically guidance is how much it has to follow your prompt. So let's say your prompt, you want it to be a lot, then you can increase the guidance to 5 to 7. The steps is how much time it runs. Right now, even if you keep steps 10 or 50, doesn't really matter because it is going through an API and not using your computer's CPU and GPU. So it doesn't really matter. The seed is when you want the same looking image the next time. This is basically whether you want to have the next seed, the prior seed, fixed seed, or a totally random seed. Prompt upscaling is when you want to upscale the prompt for this particular model. It does it on its own. I have not found really any difference in the prompt upscaling, but if you want, you can try it. Okay. So that's basically what this particular node look like. And both of these nodes look very same for Pro or Max. Let me take the Max as well. So you see, it only says context max, but the parameters remain the same. And now let's see how to make something. Okay, super interesting. So first what I will do, I'll say choose file to upload. Let's go to desktop and let's say I take this sketch, which I had taken in my earlier video as well. I'm going to change the resolution because the aspect ratio here in this image is 16:9. One thing to note is keep aspect ratio which are standards. Don't have a odd aspect ratio because where with Comfy, we take image through pixels and connect to K sampler because then it takes any aspect ratio that it is of the input image. Here you need to feed what is the aspect ratio. So keep it to some standard aspect ratios like 2:3, 3:2, 1:1, 16:9, 9:16. Don't really have a random aspect ratio because then it will make only to the aspect ratio that it knows. So your image and the output might not really be consistent. Okay. And then let's prompt it. Let's say, so I added a prompt just saying change the museum sketch to a daylight render, make the museum of concrete with glass surrounded by a water body and green lush trees with humans. And let's see what it does. And you see 4 seconds you get this URL. The display takes a little bit of time and see how nice my exact sketch has been converted into a render. Okay, I should have added RG3 node, but let's look at it side by side. And do you see how consistent it is? And it took 5 seconds. You have to understand this is wild. 5 seconds is nothing. In a world of AI, ChatGPT takes 40 seconds or 30 seconds to create a sheet or image and sometimes it doesn't even make. This is 5 seconds. I don't know. And you see the water body is precise. The steps has been precise. There has been humans added. The exact form of this building is retained. It is made of concrete. There has been nice trees added here. There is grass added here. What else do we need? What else do we need? Even in the glass, there is reflection of the trees. There is reflection of the glass. There is reflection of the grass. Sorry, I get carried away when I see things like this. There is reflection of the human figures. And this is really insane. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. One drawback that I have noticed, because it sticks so close to your input image, it doesn't really add character to the image, especially when you're doing sketch to render. So what I have noticed is if you want to do sketch to render, use ControlNet first so that you get a nice looking output. Once you get a good render, then you use context. It does really well. Okay. So let's take a different example. Let's add RG3 as well so that we see basically image comparer node. Now here in this case, I want to add a render. So I say upload an image. In this case, I will take this render. So this is the render of a pavilion that I had done using Twinmotion. this image I use as a test with lot of models because it has so many things. It has these diamond shaped panels, it has these ribs, it has animals. There's a lot of things happening in depth. Even ControlNet really struggles when creating this image same output. Let's see what this particular image model does. So here I will say, okay, so I just added this prompt. I told it change the material of the pavilion into concrete instead of the transparent panels. Keep the LED lighting, design and everything else intact. And let's see what it does. Okay, I need to change the resolution. So I'm going to make it 1:1, enter, and then let's run it. And do you see how insane this is? It has only changed the material. Rest everything is intact. Keeping this form intact is really wild. I don't know sometimes why Kontext moves the things up and down. I have tested multiple times. It either moves things by some pixels up or makes it below some pixels. I don't know, but it does that. But you see how nice the output is. It's kind of carried away the design language, and this is not a easy thing for AI to do with such a complex shape. It's really not easy because there is no kind of symmetry. There is nothing. All of this is like a abstract parametric form. And doing this is really great, and I want you to try this model. You will be blown away. Now of course you can change weather and all of the things as well. Let's ask it to do something else. Let's ask it to, okay, so I am telling it to make a view catalog of this pavilion, add side elevation, front elevation, top view and rear view. And now let's see what it does. And this is totally wild. Okay, it doesn't look as it is like this in my design because it's very off than what it is. Okay, this view is similar to the input image. This view is also similar to the input image. Okay, here it's I think from another angle, but the design is really warped. It's fine, it still tried. This is the closest when any of other models can even do something reasonably to this particular pavilion. You can imagine if the design or if the whatever you put in is simple, it will do great things for it. Okay, top view, nice. What I actually appreciate of this model, it is kept the LED lighting consistent. It has kept the form a little bit consistent, and maybe this is the version that I would use. Okay, so I really would encourage you to use this particular model. It's really crazy. Now let's see how that image stitch model works, or the image stitch node works. So double click on your canvas and then you can say image stitch, and there are multiple ones. We are looking at this one, which is image stitch RMBG. So take this one. Now this one has two inputs, which is your first image and second image, and then where you want the second image to be. So like I said, whatever changes you want to make to an image, always that has to be to the right side. So what I do, I put the image that I want to change to image 2, and let's see what I want to add to image 1. Let us see if it can use the style of this particular image. So I'm just saying change the render style of the pavilion to the sketch style of the architectural building, and let's see what it does. And you see, it tries, but it doesn't really do. So this is one of the drawback that I have also noticed a lot of time. Now you see, it has taken parts of the pavilion, it has taken parts of that museum sketch, but not really added the style. And I have tried it with various prompts, it doesn't really do. But what it does well is that, let's say I add, what do I add? Let's say I add me. Okay, so I have said a man with black hair holding a miniature version of the architectural pavilion in his hands. And let's see what it does. Okay, like I said, you always need to describe what that image is, even if it is. So this man, which is me, I have black hair. I had a lot more black hair. It's become white now. Anyway. Okay, let's run this and see what we get. Okay, and you see, it has tried to make it. Okay, first of all, the pavilion is good. I have 5 fingers, but that's not me. Okay, now we need to change something. So what I will say is that, so I will say keep the man's face and expression same. Nah, still did not do it. I don't know who is this person. Looks close, but not really close. The model looks really like the model from the images. Luckily, I have 5 fingers, which is great. Let's see what else can we edit in the prompt. I think this is the closest one. I only made it like a brown Asian man is holding the miniature version of the architectural pavilion in his hand. Keep the man's face and everything else intact. And this is nice. This is really nice. It is me. Finally, I can recognize it's me. It has somehow, I don't know, made me happy, I guess, more happier. But it's good. I think, like, you see, it's the same. It has kind of reduced the shadows or the light that is falling on my face, but really it's good. And the model really looks good. Okay, there is also the cat. This is also the LED lighting. I don't know. I don't know how to express this to you. And this is just by prompting. I'm in loss of words. You just have to appreciate it, I guess. And this is the first iteration of the context model. The later version, I don't know what are they going to do. Okay, of course I had to try at least 7-8 times to get this particular outcome, but still this is really good. Okay, anyway, I really get carried away with Gen AI. I need to stop. Okay, but anyway, so that's how you can stitch images. Anything that you want to stitch into one particular image, that you have to do, and the image that you want to change has to be on the right side. Okay, so if I preview this, if I, let's say, preview image, let me move this down. I'm gonna bypass this, otherwise again my credits will go. So let me run this. Okay, I'm gonna bypass this again. So basically you will see that I am on the right side. So whatever you want to change has to be on the right side, and whatever you want to take influence of has to be on the left side. Okay, now let's see what else can be done. Let me add one more node to this. I'm going to add another image stitch node. So I'm going to Control C, Control V this. This one goes to the image. I'm going to copy load image again. Okay. Now this one goes to image 2. And now this one is what will be the input image. And let's see what it does. Okay. Now let me see what I want to change first. And here I will make this as top. So whatever these two images go top and bottom. And whatever, like I said, want to change needs to go to the right side. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to do the same thing. So instead of giving one model, I'm saying a brown Asian man is holding 2 miniature versions of the architectural pavilion. And let's see, does it do it or no? I don't know. I haven't tried it yet. But let's see. I have tried it for interior, but I was like, we are already doing this. So why not push it further and see if it can do that job as well or not. This is really good. It did not take the second image into consideration. I am as it is, which is a really good sign. It did not take this second image. So you see, it took this particular, the model that we made from Grasshopper, and it added in both of my hands. But why it didn't take the second one? Maybe I need to describe the prompt better. Okay, so then I typed more. I said, in the right hand, let there be pavilion, and in the left hand is the white sketched building. The pavilion is correct. I don't know why it's not still doing this particular building. Let me check what needs to be changed more in the prompt. I want to try one more thing. I think it's because of the resolution. I will say expand the image, and I will change this resolution to 1:1 and see if this works. So so of course you can change the resolution of the images. What is landscape can be vertical, what is vertical can be landscape. So all you need to say is expand the image and give whatever resolution of the image you want it to be. And I want to try this. Okay, amazing. It has converted 16:9 ratio into 1:1 and kept the same design. It has extended the sky and extended the water body. Now I'm going to add this image here. My concern or my doubt is because these two images are not of the same resolution, it is not doing it. But let's try. I think this should do it. And yes. To some extent, yes. You see, this is the concrete building with water body added and the pavilion will be changed. So my understanding from this is that maybe it also takes the image weight in consideration. For example, this was 16:9 and was a smaller image compared to this. So I tried 5-6 times, it was not working. So then my brain was like, okay, maybe we need to make this image bigger. And yes. Okay, this is wild, but okay. Sometimes I get like irritated when things don't work and I have to force my brain to come up with the solution. And when things work, I'm like, yes, done and dusted. But anyway, so it clearly looks like these two images have to be of the same ratio. If one is landscape, the other needs to be landscape. If one is portrait, the other needs to be portrait. I don't know why that is. Maybe it is how the models have been trained. And now it's not doing a great job, but fine. Once it is done, it's done. I will take that one image as the win. I can always extract this image, but one image is a win. And the prompt also I edited a little bit. So I said make a miniature version of the concrete building with water body. Again, I am describing what this image is, sitting in the man's left hand, and a miniature version of the curved pavilion sitting in the man's right hand. Keep the man's face intact. So always describe what your image is. This is very important for the model to know what you're referring to, and then it will do a better job. Okay, so this works. I am super happy. But you understand the workflow is really simple. You just either add one image, add a prompt, it will change, or you add just a prompt, it will give you. If you want to add multiple images, you use image stitch node and it will stitch the images. Key here is whichever image you want to be edited, that needs to be in the right side. Okay, but in essence, that's how the workflow is. It is super simple. Just add your prompt, get output, add image, change, give it an instructional prompt. Don't give it like a detailed paragraph long prompt, like where the way we prompt in ControlNet is you're describing what the output is, like elevation of a curved building with like trees and all that. Here you got to say what you change and what do you edit, because it understands the image. You say convert this sketch into a render of a building made of concrete or whatever, so on and so forth. Don't describe what you want the output to be, describe what you want the image to be changed into. Okay, so then let's look at some of the use cases. So I have kind of compiled a lot of use cases which might be useful. So the first one is similar, which is sketch to render. Okay. Now in this case, I took a different image. This is, I think, generated from Comfy, and I wanted to render this. So again, the prompt I added, convert this sketch into an unreal, realistic elevation of a museum made of cotton, steel, panels and glass. Surround it with a wooden deck, a water body, lush green trees and people. Use Unreal Engine style realism and architectural detail. Okay, and you get this output. And like I said, there is no words to describe it. Then I went further and now I just changed the material of the building. So instead of cotton steel, here I made it brick, which looks really nice. Instead of brick, I changed it to shiny metal, and then you see there's like a little bit of a shine added here. Then instead of shiny metal, I said concrete. So then once you get one image, you can iterate on whatever you want to create further. Then the second use case is when you want to change, let's say, location, a climate or a time. So I took one of the images, which was like the concrete finished one, and then I told it, convert this image into a winter scene covered in snow with artificial lighting coming from the building and LED lighting beneath the deck. It didn't, I was expecting it to do the entire deck below with LED lighting, but still this looks really, really nice. So I told it now make it like it's the autumn scene in Mars. Then I told it to make the same image on a sunny day in a desert with sand dunes. Then this has to be my favorite render of what I created. So I prompted it like convert the image into a foggy mountain morning with dense mist surrounding the building, pine trees in the background and a cool moody atmosphere. And you see how nice it is. Have you ever rendered anything with fog? You will know either the fog is a little bit above the water, either it is too up, either it's between the building. Consistently getting a fog is really difficult, at least in my experience when I'm rendering. And this kind of depth, sometimes the building becomes, you have to, of course, somebody might say, no, it can be done. Yes, of course it can be done, but it takes at least half an hour to 40 minutes. This takes 5-6 seconds. It is, I don't know. And this great consistency, it's something really nice. Okay. Then in the next one, I told it to make it like a scene in Japan with cherry blossom trees, a calm water body with koi fish and lush greenery all around. And it did it. It is so nice. Look at those cherry blossom trees. I feel like I want to sit here on this deck and just like enjoy the nature. So when you get any one particular image output, you can change everything about it possible. You can add text, you can change weather, material, where it is located and things like that. Now let's see some more use cases. Now example, I wanted to change the style. So the first one is like I told it to make like a Simpsons. I have a little bit of lisp, so please be forgiving when I say the word Simpsons, and I love it. Then I of course told it to make like Ghibli style. I never tried it with ChatGPT. I did, but I also wanted to see if this works with the Ghibli style, and it does. It's not my highly recommended way of using AI. I don't like people using any artist's name in AI, but for this reason I was like, okay, one image is fine. Then next one, I said make it like a Art Nouveau style while preserving the original building scale and form. Okay, always you have to mention what is to be preserved. If you are saying that convert the image fully, it will. But here if I only say convert the image into this, it will change the building as well. That's why I had to write while preserving the original building scale and form. Then I was like, let's make it into a Art Deco, and this is wild. I could create a book on all these styles of this particular building. If somebody funds me, we can really build this building. We already have all the drawings ready, or the views ready. Then I was like, make it like a cyberpunk futuristic setting with neon lights. How brilliant this is. Just one image, one prompt, 5 seconds of your life, 10 minutes to make the script, and $0.04 or 3.5 rupees, and you get this. Is this cheap labor? I don't know. Okay, but right now it does well. And then I told it to make like a brutalist monochrome style using raw concrete textures. Then I told it to make like a pixel art, and you see it's made this into small squares. I really like the brick pattern in this building rather than the input image. Then I told it to make like a 1960s pop art style scene using bold outlines, halftone dots, and vibrant colors. And then this I told it to just make like a Baroque oil painting. So these are some of the styles. Of course, there are a lot of styles that you want to come up with. Then next, I wanted to make some visualization prompts. Now, these are a little bit specific to interior or architecture or design specific, where I wanted to see how this particular building will look like if it's done through different CAD softwares. Now, the first one, I told it to make this image into an AutoCAD style architectural elevation, and how cool is this? Then the next style, I was like, okay, can you make it into a Revit style elevation? Then the next one is just simple wireframe. The next image is my favorite of this bunch, which is this white clay render of the building with soft shadows and no textures. And this is so beautiful. Have you ever done a clay render? It is so difficult to match the sky. Either the sky is too blue or the building is too white. There is no depth to it. If there is a water body, there is a reflection of the sky. There are too many complications. Yes, again, you will say it takes some like half an hour to do. This takes 6 seconds. Guys, realize the time difference. It takes 6 seconds, and this is super wild. I absolutely love the reflection that's coming on this water body. I absolutely love how the human figures and the entire thing is being done. Then the next one, I was like, okay, can you make it into a cardboard architectural model with laser cut edges and tabletop lights? The next one is also one of my favorites, where I told it to make this image into a 3D printed miniature of the building with white PLA. Can you see this? How can you comprehend this? Like from this to this, it has done. It's like a real 3D printed model. You can also see the lines a little bit. I don't know, it is from the brick texture or it is the 3D printed lines. I also see them here. It has also made those lines. Then I was like, can I have the same model with the materials? How good is this? I don't know. Each image was just making me high. I was just getting zoomies, seeing all these images. But anyway, then the next image, I was like, can you make it into a black silhouette of the building with no interior or surface detailing? Then I wanted to try it for the ghosted view. Then I asked it to make like a massing diagram. Then I asked it to make like a vertical sectional cut through the building. And I tried this multiple times. While the output looks good, it has kind of stacked the overall building on top of each other and then cut through it rather than joining or rather than cutting it from one. Now the next one was also really nice. So what I told it, rotate the image by 30 degrees, keeping the same architectural design. And you see, it has changed the camera view. So right now, let's say I was standing somewhere here near the camera. This is my central view. Let's say this is 0 degrees. This is 90. Somewhere around 45, between 30 and 40, this angle comes. And now I'm standing on this particular deck and getting this view. Then the next one, I said the aerial view of this architectural building, keep the same design language. And this is very, very good. I'm not going to say any words. I'm going to just pause for you to appreciate this. Then I was like, make this image into a zoomed out urban planning diagram. Then I asked it to make like a view catalog of the building, front view, side view, what I did earlier in the tutorial as well. Again, the same output. Not really consistent across the board. Then you can change resolution as well, like I showed in the particular tutorial. So any image, all you say, expand this image, then you can give any resolution. For example, this was, I think, 4 by 5. I told it to make it 16 by 9, great. I told it to make 1:1, good. I told it to make 9:16, again, great. So it's very quick. Just expand this image to whatever resolution you want, unless that model knows it. Don't put a random like 27:36, doesn't mean anything for that particular model. Then I tried with combining images like I showed you, and I did couple of tests. Combining images never gave me good output in one go. I had to do it multiple times, but let's see what outputs that we get. So here I was like, can you add this texture on this building? It did not come in one go. Whatever I'm showing these images of combined images, at least there were 5-6 iterations before that. Otherwise it was not able to do it in the first go. So whenever you're combining images, keep that in mind. That will take at least 5 to 10 iterations. Then in the next one, I wanted to put this building in some urban context, and this was a fail. So first what I did was I told it to remove the background and make the building in a PNG format, because I was like, if I directly add it, it's too much work for it to remove water body, grass, and then put in an urban context. And I gave it an image. I told it multiple times, can you do this? I spent at least an hour to do this, and there are like at least 50-60 images. First I added a box. I told it, can you place the building in the box? It didn't do it. So this is something it really lacks. This was the closest that I could get, where I said place the building in the urban corner plot instead of the red box. So in the end I tried to tell it to replace this box with the building, and this is the closest that I could get in terms of understanding the building, the overall context model. You got to understand real context a little bit. And the same thing what I did in the tutorial I did with this model as well. This is really nice. And not just for exterior, you can use the same combining images for interior spaces as well. So in the first one, what I did was I made this image, I think from Mid-Journey. I had this texture. I wanted to apply this texture onto this particular sofa. This is going to change the product photography that we do. Just take one photo and change the texture. You can create lakhs of texture or thousands of textures and just keep on applying, and you get a catalog of this. And it is hardly 5-6 seconds, and this is much more clearer than any other product photography that I have seen from any other AI tool. I wanted to extend it to see how much capabilities of this can be done for interior design. So I made this empty interior space. I made this cabinet, and I told it, add the TV unit furniture in the highlighted region at the rear wall of the room, touching the wall, keep the design and everything else same. There was a lot of iterations that went behind it. First I told it, can you add the cabinet? It made it sometimes in the center of the room. It made it sometime below this particular sill level. Then I made this red box that you see, so that it understands where it has to go. But even after making that red box, sometimes it was pushing it inside and keeping parts of it in the red box, because it doesn't understand the box as a mask, but more like a region. It is like a reference for it. So then I had to also prompt saying touching the wall, and it did good. The TV is off-centered. Dang it. It's fine. Then I wanted to add the same floral sofa from my previous slide here, but I tried multiple times. It was not doing it. So the first thing what I did was I told it, convert the front view of this sofa into a rear view. Then I told it, add the sofa in the highlighted region of the room, and boom, it's done. Please don't judge my interior design skills for it. This is me just testing the AI tool. Then I was like, can I add this same floral texture behind the TV? This really blew me away. It extracted the pattern. You see, I have not given it an image of a pattern. This is the only image it has. It extracted from it and it put behind the wall, behind the TV. It understood where is TV. It understood that it has to put behind the cabinet. It understood it has to extract the floral pattern. You have to understand how many things this model is doing at a time, and all of this within 5 to 6 seconds. Then the ceiling looked a little bit blank to me. So I was like, can we add a chandelier? So I made this image. So also there was a lot of natural lighting in this particular image. So I was like, add the chandelier in the middle of the ceiling in the room, reduce the natural light in the room, and keep the artificial light from the chandelier, keep the rest of the design intact. So you see, it has reduced the light from that particular interior space and added the chandelier, made it bright. Then I wanted to add something more. I was like, these walls don't look good. So I wanted to make it gray color, and it did it. It made all of these 3 charcoal color. It increased the intensity of the chandelier and also added a LED light behind the TV. And I went from this image to this image within a span of 15 minutes. Really. I'm not exaggerating. It really genuinely took me 15 minutes. Okay. And this can be used in real life scenarios as well. And like I earlier showed in my presentation, this is where like you could change the hanging lights and put the flower pot in the table as well. Okay. I have not extended more than 3 images. I don't know if it does well. Getting output from 2 images is good. From 3 it struggles. You have to give at least 10-15 iterations. I wonder what it will do with like 4 images. Then the next use case is render to render, which I think is really good. I would suggest that first make a render on your own, maybe using ControlNet or any rendering tools, then use Kontext because it's much more powerful. Because even with ControlNet, sometimes things little bit change, but with Kontext, it keeps the same output. So for example, like again, I used my favorite render, which is the AI test render. Here I'd said, add rain to the render, keep the design, LED lighting and everything else same. Okay. I tried it first without saying the LED lighting and it kind of made it go away. So I had to add it. And how nice is this? It has added this rain strokes to the image. It has made the LED lighting brighter. Okay. And it has not changed anything. Even this cat is the same. So you understand that there is a cat here. There's a head of a cow here. I don't see that, but that's fine. That much leeway is good enough. You can remove things as well. So I asked it to remove human figures, keep the design and everything same. And you see it has removed all of these human figures and they have gone. Not just removed, but extend those LED lights in a way that it looks coherent. And that is commendable. Then I have something called as a box trick, where let's say you want to edit a specific part of the image, you add a box like I showed in the interior image. In the first one, I added a box here and I said this box is added using Paint or Photoshop. So you can just right click on the image, say open in Paint, make a box and save it. And I said add human figures in the highlighted region. Then I said add an aeroplane here. Then I made a bigger box and I said add multiple tall pine trees in the highlighted region. I feel like this is part of the render. I was a little bit worried that this box went above this particular pavilion, but it did not. It understood that it has to be behind that pavilion. Then I was like, add a water body in this region. Then I was like, I haven't tested text yet. So I was like, add the text context tutorial in the sky and behind the trees in white. I want you to focus here a little bit where the A letter, even though it's not went behind the tree is intact and it has added this transparency here. This small details that I notice with this model really is making me appreciate it more and more as I'm using it. And I went from this to this image. Of course, the quality has been reduced. Okay. But still going from this to this while retaining the design is something really good. And I also wanted to test it for not just architecture, but something else. So apart from architecture, I love automobile. So I took image of a car and then I said, convert the color of the car into metallic silver. Then I was like, convert the design of the alloy wheels to 6-spoke carbon fiber alloy wheels. Then the next one is really wild. I told it, keep the design of the car as it is, but let the car drive on a road surrounded by mountains. I'm telling you, this is going to change product photography in a crazy way. Then I was like, change the image to a night scene. You see how good of the image this is. Then I wanted to change the scene. So I was like, keep the car and the road as they are. Change the background to a beach setting and keep the scene at night with stars in the sky. So everything remains the same. If you see here, go back and forth, everything remains the same. Only the mountain is changed by a beach and you get this nice stars in the sky. Then I just wanted to have fun with this model. Generally, I need to keep my architect, computational designer and AI brain outside. And I was like, okay, can I use my images to see how I also get transformed? Little bit. The first thing I added this image and then I said, just change the shirt of the man into a dazzling metallic gold and black tuxedo. And don't I look good? Here in this case, I think the key is adding of the word just. I had added a box, a red box here. It didn't really do, it was changing my face. Without the word just, I also said change the shirt of the man and it didn't really change. But when I add the word just, it did a really good job. And then I said change the dress of this man to a black and white metallic suit, keep the rest same. Amazing. How good do I look? I wish I could avatar can sit here and talk on this camera. Then I was like, can I change the background? Then I was like, can I convert this into a night render? So I had only added initially till here, and my face was getting a lot dark. So then I was like, okay, I have this white strips near my collar of my suit. Can I ask it to glow this? And it did. And you see there is some light on my face. But of course, the quality you will see has reduced from my earlier image. You see, it has slowly reduced with first iteration, second iteration a little bit more, third even more. So as you keep on iterating, your original image quality will be drastically reduced. So I want you to keep that in mind. But these are all the use cases that I could come up with testing this for, I think, a week and a half. I've also made a list of some do's and don'ts that I think will be helpful for this particular model. So the do's are: be as specific as possible in your instructions. Whenever you tell it, be specific. You need to give a paragraph. Then make iterative edits. Don't tell it 5 things in one image. Like, don't tell it to add a suit plus be in beach plus having in the night. It will not do it. Take the first step, second step, third, fourth, and so on and so forth. Do you think the company made the model in a way so that they can extract more money? I'm not sure. Then describe the image in your own words. Keep it as simple as possible. Generally with Gen AI, you use this complicated, overcomplicated words. Don't do that. Okay. Then use clear and direct language. Use bounding box. Very important. If you want any specific region only to change, give it a region for it to edit and say, change only this highlighted region. Rest you don't change anything. Then you can use it for fast prototyping. Then some of the don'ts: don't use vague or super complex instructions. It doesn't really do well. Then don't push too many iterations, because like you saw, the image quality anyway keeps on degrading over iteration. If you keep on pushing, your original image will be lost. Then don't use long prompts. Then of course, don't expect pixel perfect manipulation. Sometimes it will go up, sometimes it will go down, sometimes it will move left or right. Things have happened a lot of time. Don't use more than 4 images in image stitch. I have tried with 3. I'm assuming it will work with 4, but going more than that, I'm not sure it's going to work. Don't use random image resolution. Output will become distorted. For example, let's say you have a resolution of, 1:1.5. AI does not understand that, because this model is not, like I said, going through a K-sampler or a decoding and encoding process. So it will not know the exact pixel resolution. So keep it in a resolution that it follows, which is standard 16:9, 2:3, 3:2, 9:16, 1:1. And lastly, I know this video again has gone long. It's a deep dive in context model. So lastly, look at limitations. Okay, let me become big so you will know it's the end of my video. And the same report that Black Forest Labs submitted, they have this limitations here which they have noted, which says the model occasionally fails to follow instructions accurately, which is 100% true. Ignoring specific prompt requirements in rare cases, that also we have seen, or I have seen multiple times. World knowledge remains limited, affecting the model's ability to generate contextually accurate content. And this I have noticed. So in that example where I wanted to change the background of myself into beach, I at first added myself in Taj Mahal, in Sagrada Familia, then I added in like Villa Savoy. And the understanding of those real world cases kind of changed when I added more specific building names, and it didn't really do well. Okay, apart from that, there are a few other limitations. One is the pricing. It's not free yet. So, okay, you have 200 credits, but after that you have to pay. And then the image output resolution. So from this particular image, if I zoom in, you see how broken the image is. You see the diamond grid doesn't look diamond, the line looks off, the trees are too pixelated. Okay, the text is good, but rest is too pixelated. I was actually seeing one of their videos, and they said that in the future iterations, they are going to make a model with higher resolution output. And I hope they make it sooner, because with AI, everybody wants to upscale and have this A1 max billboard size images. And then lastly is image style transfer. It doesn't really do the style transferring really well. So wanted to add this style onto this image. It did not do it. Either it would give me this outcome or this outcome. This output, I was more looking for something like this. This is from IP adapter in Comfy. We haven't seen it. We'll see in the future videos. But it doesn't really do well with style transfer. I have seen it do style transfer with like abstract art. For example, let's say like I did in the transfer part, I added this kind of, I told it to add metal digrade pattern on this instead of brick, and it does that. But full changing of the image doesn't really happen. And I think the comparison with ChatGPT is really not fair at this stage yet, because ChatGPT I think does really good, especially for creating these competition style boards. So the prompt here was simple, and you see the ChatGPT sheet looks like it is a competition sheet, whereas the output from Kontext looks more of like a construction drawing and not really a competition sheet. But what is wild to me, seeing both of these images, you see the entrance is kind of similar. The form also is kind of similar, where in GPT you have, let's say, horizontal fins or lures, and here you have vertical fins or lure, which kind of made me wonder, are all of these models being trained on specific parametric design output? That is why this looks same. I don't know, just a food for thought. But it didn't really follow my prompt. It didn't do any interior view, whereas ChatGPT did a great job. I mean, we know what ChatGPT does, but this is 5 seconds versus around 40-45 seconds. But anyway, that's mostly it for this deep dive in context model. I hope you learned or understood how this model is trained, how to use it in Comfy, how to use it in Black Forest Labs playground, then what can be done, what are the different use cases, what are some do's and don'ts, and what are its limitations. So that's it for this particular video. I know it has been long. I'll try to make the next video 15 minutes. It's been long videos. But anyway, thank you for your time. Please do all the things that YouTube suggests, which is like, share, comment, subscribe. Really helps me to make better content, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.